Dito po sa Pilipinas, wala akong nakita ibang produkto na quality. Mas mataas ang standard ng produkto kung di Salto lang.
Yung mga gamit nila, moderno yun. For the good quality ng Salto products. Hindi nila pwede pabayaan yun.
Sa akin, yan ang napaka-importante, no? Quality talaga.
Dito sa farm na to, we're happy to say na from breeding up to conditioning, we are powered by Salto feeds.
Walang comparison ng Gallimax 21 pagdating sa breeding. Kaya kong itaya yung pangalan ko sa Gallimax 21.
Yung chick booster nila, dali mo palakin yung sisyo, ang sisigla, tapos may mga balahibo na.
May isa akong manok na baldado. Ginagamit ko yan sa derby. 2 plus lang, na champion.
The product itself has proven every time na yun yung gagamitin natin, healthy yung mga manok natin.
Ang customer ngayon, tumitingin na sa health ng manok. Pag mas healthy ang manok mo, mas pupuntahan ka niyan.
Kinakailangan makita mo lang healthy yung mula sisiw hanggang sa maging stag na panlaban yan. Kuha ka na satisfy ka na Satisfaction ko talaga na lumaki yung manok ko, healthy, sa tulong ng Salto rin.
You're satisfied with the product, tapos yung samahan parang pamilya.
Hindi ako sisikat, hindi ako makikilala kung walang protekta yung Salto sa akin. Dahil sa protekta ng Salto, naging ganito ako.
Monthly, meron silang training seminars para sa kanilang mga tao para mas updated sila.
Kaya napakalaking bagay ng suporta ng vet ng Salto. Lalo na nag-i-evolve yung mga sakit ngayon eh.
Yung farm visit, hindi siya once in a blue moon. Hindi, talagang may regular na pupuntahan ka talaga nila. Sa technical nila, nag-advise ng mga programa sa vaccination.
I was offered by other companies, sabi ko, we're not getting any younger. Magandang relationship namin, why transfer?
That will make you inconsistent. I'm happy.
Before pa naman ako naging endorser, Salto na rin talaga yung ginagamit ko. Tsaka kahit hindi ako endorser, ito pa rin gagamitin ko kasi tested ko siya.
Humingi ka ng tulong sa kanila, readily maisusuporta nila kasi nga, ang turing sa'yo is beyond as customer, di ba? So, dyan magaling din ang Salto.
Yung mga alas ng Salto, talagang the who in the game fowl industry. Tsaka maganda yung camaraderie namin sa alas ng Salto.
I rather believe they wanted me to become an endorser, to build me up, to give me a pride.
I learned about the Salto products because of the service, and it's a little bit funny. It's been very difficult for me in the first years because I didn't understand the vaccination program worked. I had no idea. I didn't know how to vaccinate. In the States, we didn't treat for these NCD, Gumboro. We never treat for that. I had no idea how to, and so I was having a lot of trouble. And someone recommended me. My good friend now, Ramal Tang, and I said, can you help me? I said, sure. I told him, I said, I don't belong to Salto. I'm a user of a different product. His reply to me, well, I don't care if you need help. If I can help you, I'll help you. So they came to the farm. We had a look at what I had going on, and at that time I said, well, these guys, they know what's going on. So I went and got some Salto products. And I made a test. I made a comparison because I believe in testing everything. And, well, I don't have the information anymore. The difference was quite substantial, So my contract was up with the other company, and I told them I wasn't going to resign. The services is what got me involved in Salto to start with. If their service is this good, and then they can help me, well, let me try their product and see what it's going to do. Running 8 years and never looked back. Even someone is like me, who's let's say a novice breeder, if you will, Gallimax 21, it just makes a difference. It's going to produce more eggs. And I know it doesn't seem possible, but when I started using Gallimax 21, I truly believe the weight of the egg increased, which means that the chick inside the egg was bigger, was healthier. When my friends can't produce eggs, I said, let me show you how. Let me show you how, because I'm that confident in it. You know, that it's the best product on the market, no doubt. It's for sure the biggest challenge for us breeders, because there's a lot of breeders here and a lot of game fowl produced. The biggest challenge for any game farm is health. You know, allowing Salto to come here, allowing them to help me develop a vaccination program. If I didn't contact Mr. Ramel back then, I can't imagine where I would be. You know, I wouldn't be here today.
Yan, magandang araw uli mga kasalto. So welcome back po ulit sa another Alas ng Salto webinar. So gusto ko simulan sa tatlong letter M ang ating introduction for today. Makinig, matuto, at manalo. Ayan po, no? Yung guest po natin ngayon na hindi locally born. So medyo kakaiba itong ating Alas ng Salto ngayon. So yung mga medyo hindi ready dyan, suggestion ko, mag-ready kayo ng tissue para kung sasakali sa magiging discussion natin. Okay? Ako po si Dok Arvin Arcega. Ako po ang Game Ball Technical Supervisor ng Luzon po. So kasama ko po uli ang aking dating co-host na one of the, sabi natin, magiging alas na Game Ball Specialist ng Visayas. Lalo na sa era na alam natin kilalang Game Ball industry. So welcome po. Ito po yung mga parang masasabi nating ito yung mga nag-introduce nung White Ranger at soon coming soon na isang linyada niya ay yung Stallone na hats. Okay, welcome po Sir Aljer Yecyec.
Okay mga kasalto, another Saturday webinar natin. Ko po ay si GFS Aljer Yecyec ng Western Visayas. Again, nagpapasalamat po kami sa buong mundo, sa buong nakikinig at na tumatangkilik sa programa nating ito. And then, kung ano yung inintroduce, Alas ng Salto ngayon, yes, totoo, imported ito. Way up from the US.
Para sa ilong mamaya.
Yes. Dok Arvin?
Okay, go ahead, Sir Aljer. Introduce natin ang ating very, very special guest ngayon.
Okay, ang guest natin ngayon is, ito po ay si from the Paradise Game Farm, Sir Calvin Randall, Alas ng Salto, na dito na ngayon nag-stay sa Bacolod. Mga achievements niya, medyo maganda to kasi parati itong lumalaban eh. And then, 2009, champion po siya ng HML 5 Cock Derby. Then, 2011, solo champion sa 7 Stag Derby. And the same year, Negros NSSA Stag Fighter of the Year. Then, 2013, champion po siya sa Munjo Guanzon, RGG. 7 Cup Derby. And then 2014, runner-up po siya ng NGBA. 10 Stag po Derby yan dito sa Negros. Ito yung pinaka the oldest association, kung di ko nagkakamali dito sa Pilipinas, yung NGBA, Negros Game Fowl Breeders Association. And 2015, runner-up po siya ng NGBA again, 7 Bull Stag. Then 2018, naging salpukan 7 points po siya dito, mga kasalto. Walang iba kundi si, again, Calvin Randall. Back to you.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, Sir Calvin.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Okay,
Afternoon,
we have limited space to put all your achievement on the slide, so we just limited it into 7. But for those viewers out there, Calvin has won a lot of derbies here and there. So around 4 cup, 5 cup, he has won them all over, not just in the area of Negros, but also outside of Negros. So, Sir Calvin, how are you?
I'm doing fine today. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Well, thank you for being here with us. So I know you can share a lot of tips, especially in terms of conditioning, because you're one of the endorsers we have that we know that keeps on fighting, and it is really a proven hands-on conditioner and fighter of game fowl. Okay, Aljer? You have any questions, Aljer?
Yeah. You know, guys, I have a problem with Sir Calvin with talking. That's why I'm bringing I am bringing a towel for me.
That's okay,
yeah, but you know,
we understand your English. That's understandable.
Doc, you know it's not fair because his English is better than my Ilonggo, and really better than my Tagalog. I have, my partner is in Ilonggo, and so I have some Ilonggo skills, but very small. But Tagalog, I just can't do it. So, for any listeners out there today, you can send the questions to you guys, and then you guys can translate for me. It's how we do it in the seminars. It works really good, and I really like entertaining questions. Those are, if you don't mind, just talking a little bit, Doc. Those accomplishments, they don't. Yeah, they're important, right? But they're not really important. What's important is, especially here in the Philippines, that I've noticed is the camaraderie or the socialization amongst breeders, amongst game fowl enthusiasts at the farms, at the cockpits as well. If anything, that's probably, especially now in my career, that I enjoy the most. It's one of the things that's hit me hardest about the virus is not getting to be with my friends at the because going to the Bulang cockpit is as much a social event for me as anything else. I just enjoy. Of course, I like the fights, and of course, I want to win. But I enjoy the time I can spend with my game fowl enthusiast friends. Yeah. And I also talk to guys. When we go to seminars, Aljar's probably noticed this. We've done some seminars together, Doc. The thing I find most common is I remember when I was a young guy. I remember back in the day when I came from humble beginning. There in Texas, I came from a poor family. And I see this guys. Normally they're sitting in the back, and they maybe they're not so confident in their English either. I'll try to go talk to them guys privately, one-on-one, and maybe get talking to them, make them feel more at ease, and that's good for me. I really enjoy speaking to people about roosters, and today I'll tell everybody that's here that if you're not confident about asking me a question in front of somebody else, no problem. I understand that, because I would surely be red-faced if I was to try and formulate a question any longer right now. It's okay to send me a question on my Facebook Messenger. I'll respond to everyone. Anyone sends me a message, I'm going to send them a reply. Especially now, I have plenty of time. You know, we're on lockdown here in Bacolod for the next few days.
Yeah.
And
You're locked down from Friday to Monday, so that's 4 days.
Yeah, we're 4 days. We're already 2 days into it. And
that's good for you. The barangay where my farm is, they are started the lockdown yesterday, and it's for 14 days. So I can go to the farm for 14 days.
14 days, huh?
14 days. Imagine that. Ayan mga kasalto, just to cut Sir Calvin, yung mga comment po nyo na mga question regarding Calvin, pwede nyo po i-comment in Tagalog kung medyo hindi kayo at ease in English. So, kukunin namin yung opinion namin, we will translate it into English so we can ask Sir Calvin for it. So, no worries. Just kung may question kahit Tagalog, i-post nyo lang po. Sir Calvin, question in the mind of a majority of those viewers we have right now. What is the reason why you left your own country and started to live here and breed chickens? So what's the story behind that?
She like Filipina.
Aside from that, why breed in the Philippines? Breed chickens, not ano.
You know, during the military, I never came to Asia. I was always stationed in either Europe, or I spent a couple of tours in South America as well. And 2003, I was caught in a raid in Virginia. I was at a derby. I was watching. I wasn't participating. I was just watching, and I was caught in a raid. And I went through that experience, and it wasn't. I think that was probably in September, October. Well, in the following January, Mr. Tommy Green, one of my mentors, said, "Hey, I'm going to the Candelarian at the end of the month. We're going to stay with the Esmelia family in Igboros, Iloilo. Why don't you come with me, and we'll see what it's like over there?" He said, "I've been there a couple times before," and he says, "If you like cockfighting, he says this is a place you should go." So I came with him, and we stayed there in Iloilo, and I got to see. I got to watch the Candelarian, and it's just a total different environment if you love game fowl. If not just the derbies, but the people as well. And it didn't. I was getting ready to end my military career. I was a single guy, and it was perfect timing for me. I was able to transfer here in 2006. And although I've been back and forth a couple of times, I think I'm a permanent resident now. And I think the last time I left the Philippines, 2012. I don't ever plan to leave again. I'm here at home.
Long time ago.
Yeah, I have my family here now. They have me. I have them. I don't know which is which, but I'm happy to be here. I enjoy the Filipino people. Has been great to me. Really too accommodating, from especially like I said before with dealing with Mr. Aljar there. I worked with helicopters in my military career, so I have bad hearing, and it's hard for me sometimes to understand the words and stuff, and so that's why I think it's made it hard for me to learn the Longo. And so they put up with me and try their best to speak in English, and I. And I appreciate them for that. I really appreciate that. So I guess bottom line, I'm home now.
Yeah. So thank you for choosing also here to live in the Philippines and share your knowledge with our viewers. So to start our first question, next slide. So Tagalog po muna mga kasalto, no? Ano ang mga linyada na gamit mo sa inyong manukan at ang kwento nito? Sir Calvin, what are the bloodlines do you have in your farm and the story behind it? Okay, next slide.
Yeah, could you put up the slide, please?
Yeah.
Okay, the yellow leg hatch. I call them my yellow legs, and the roundheads I acquired them shortly after I returned from tour of duty in Bosnia, and it was a combat tour in 1998.
98, 99, I don't remember which, and I've had them ever since. I got it from Jimmy Smith in Virginia. I don't know, I just like them. They've been good for me. They perform. I like when I go to the farm. I'm happy with them. I'm happy with them. Let's talk about them two lines for right now. That's why I've kept them around so long. They've always been constant performers.
The yellow-legged dots and the lacy around that.
Yeah, I like that cross as well. That's when I first met Jimmy Smith, the gentleman I got him from. That he had produced some of those 50-50, and I was helping him, and we because he had some health issues there for a year or two, and he wasn't able to fight his roosters, and I just happened to we become friends, and I helped him fight his roosters, and I fell in love with those two bloodlines, and they've been with me ever since. And if I've worked with them a little bit, so they're better for stags than they used to be, but let's say those are we use an American term.
Those are two of the oldest bloodline you have.
Yeah.
So what is the characteristic of this yellow-legged hatch roots that you have? Why do you like it?
Because they fly high and they're powerful.
For a yellow-legged.
Yeah. Okay. I guess when I say powerful, what I'm really mean is their game. It's like Rocky said one time, it's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep hitting. Get back up. And that's probably what the yellow-legged hatch is. I've always thought of them as they're not known to be like this big powerhouse green-legged fowl, but for the ones I have, they seem like they're like a Timex watch. They can take a licking and they keep on ticking.
And that's the good thing about these yellow-legged ducks. They fly high compared to the other hatches.
And they cross good with the laces. Laces. The lacy I have are they're kind of a smart, stay out of the way ground fighter type rooster. So, but when I cross them with the yellow-legged hatch, the station gets a little bit better. They fly a little bit better, and I don't know. They make me happy, and they put the W's on the board. I see that on the screen there. You have the black McRae.
So, what's the story behind the black McRae?
That line is one I've developed here. I got black McRae's from imported fowl from Mare Awanda, and I mated it into the imported lines that I got from JQB of the blacks, and I took them two blacks together, and through the process of selection, I'm very happy with them. I'm still experimenting with the crosses, but so far it looks like they're also going to cross really well with the round head. And as you see in that picture there, that stag, he's got a straight comb. It's always been a philosophy of mine, and I don't know which one of my mentors, if it's Mr. Tommy Green or not. He said, when you're breeding, he said, what's worked for me is, I know you have a question coming up on breeding. He says, straight comb to peak comb, or peak comb to straight comb. He said, because the two have a little bit different characteristics, and I'll explain later what that is. Can you show the next slide with the other roosters, please? Okay, there's the lacy we talked about. Now the bullocks here, or Doms as we call them, that rooster, that's the only picture I had to show you of the Dom. Is a little bit high-tailed for me, but you can see that they're
still a good-looking bullock.
Yeah, it's a good color. I can't. I bred them just as I've got them. That line is originally from Gen. I've met Mr. Gen a few times. But one of his high school classmates and me are friends, and through that friendship, I was able to acquire these bullocks, and I'm happy with them. They perform good. They're really smart, really good cutting fowl. And besides, if you're going to fight stags, I think you have to have, off colors in your farm so that the stags that you are going to fight are aware of what they are. Next slide, please.
Okay, next slide.
Next slide.
The white kelsos, also a line I've developed here, as well as the hennies. Excuse me, as well as the hennies. When I was in the States, I was strictly fighting gaff for the most part, and whites and hennies were probably not some of my favorites. Nah, probably I said they're not as game enough. They're not, but we were fighting a different weapon then. They were fighting a different weapon, and I knew I needed some whites and hennies because I was getting beat by them. And one of the guys that was helping me, this is, 2006, 2007, when I first got here, he told me, boss, you need to get some more off colors in your yard because we're getting fooled by off colors at the pit. And that's when I started playing around with these off colors a little bit. And Jimmy Smith, again, he was here, and I was talking to him about it, and he said, if you're going to breed roosters and you're going to have them on the farm, breed the best rooster you can. And so that's where we're at today. The whites, their background is originally to Joey Laxon.
Okay.
I didn't get them direct from Joey, but that's where the original lines that I used to produce the start came from. I also infused some blood from a white from Mr. Art Lopez. As you can see, that stag has good
blood, white hatch blood, and then the white kelso of Sir Joey.
I used the white kelso of Mr. Art because of Art. Was a good friend of mine. He lent me this really nice station white rooster to infuse some. And you can see from that stag right there, I've been able to maintain that, and they stand up good. They fly good. I just want to at New Negros with the whites. I just won the stag derby here before they shut us down. 87 entries. I don't like to be boastful, but I just so you know that I'm having luck with them. We went 4 straight, and we were the only one that day to get through unscathed. The hennies. If you're gonna play with something, you should always try to get the best you can get to start out with. Now, Mr. Peter Asosa Apple, he let me a henny broodcock some years ago. I used it for 1 season and got a start, and that's where now I picked up some other hennies off and on, but that really is where my hennies start from. Mr. Apple, he let me use that broodcock, and I have to give all the credit to him. That's where the foundation came from, is from Mr. Peter Sosa, and I've been happy with them. People told me, said, you can't win derbies with hennies. No, I'm winning derbies with hennies.
The problem with hennies are they are banned from other derbies. That's the only problem.
That's okay. That's okay, and it's, I understand why, and I don't have any complaint about them banning from stag derbies. Hennies is I don't know, they kind of like toppy roosters. I don't raise so many of them, and they're really for my personal consumption. As I told you before, going to the cockpit is as much a social event as it is anything else for me. So I try to, I don't want to go to the cockpit unless I'm fighting. So I try to fight as much as I can. And so I don't mind fighting 1 cocks, 3 cocks, and hennies used in those derbies a lot. And if you're here in Negros, if your roosters aren't prepared to fight henny cocks in a cock derby, you're taking a big chance. There's a lot of good hennies in Negros. A lot of good hennies.
Yeah.
So,
I think
buddy,
that's the disadvantage of breeders producing the normal stags, the color, the Boncan one, they call the sweaters or the red ones. Once they do not have the off-color ones, and you bring them on the pit, and and their competitor or their opponent will be an off-color, they will be in a disadvantage for that because their roosters are not used to an off-color opponent.
Yeah, Doc, you're exactly right. In the game we play today, even if you have, let's say the best imported, whatever bloodlines, healthiest, you've spent, a whole year raising that stag, and you've just got the best rooster you could have. If he's never seen a white or a bullock,
yes,
and that bullock can be an unhealthy rooster, Class D, if you will. But if your rooster drops the wing and forgets what he's there for, and that other rooster tags him one time, maybe you've just lost, and you never should have.
Yes.
You never
Especially
should have dropped that.
It was a really fatal blow.
Yes, and it only takes, especially the game we played today. It only takes one time. Mr. Hudsmith, Jeff Hudsmith of Cedar Creek, one time told me, he said, no matter how good your rooster is, if that other rooster starts taking pieces off every time he gets close to you, pretty soon the game gets very even. Very even.
That's true. Okay, next slide.
Doc, I've seen some questions here. You want to look at a couple of these
After
questions?
this, we'll go back to them.
Okay. All right, Doc, that's a picture of these are probably my signature line now. These leapers are imported. They came from, not directly, I didn't get them directly from rat graves, but I got them the very next the first hatch that David Bishop went to. He went to Rat Graves' farm and selected the materials. And in the very first hatch, he sent me some, and I've had them since then. I think I've had them since 2013, 2012, 2013. I don't remember for sure now. I'd have to look at my records. I'm not a big fan.
Is one of your favorite bloodline right now?
I don't know. It depends.
All of them are your favorite, but this one is, for now, is your favorite.
Anything I've crossed them to, there's no such thing as a bad cross with leapers. Some of them are better than others, but there's no such thing as a bad cross with the leapers that I got from them. I wasn't ever a fan of, say, dark-legged roosters before, but after, I started breeding the McRaes, after I started breeding the leapers, they're still in my farm. They're still, so if they weren't performing,
still a reason why they're there.
Yeah, if you
is this a pure leaper, the one you're holding?
That one there is, yeah. That's a pure
leaper.
Yeah,
I used to have a leaper before, but definitely this leaper really looks good. Really looks a good looking leaper. The leaper I have doesn't look like that. Maybe if it looks like that and fights the way you describe it, maybe I've kept it in the farm. Anyway, Sir Calvin, question of our viewers, majority will be is already enticed to having some of your mga bloodlines. Are you sharing your blood? Are you selling them to those who want to have the bloodline you have?
When I raised too many to consume myself, if I have a few extra, that's not my goal. My goal is to come here to fight. But if I have a few extra, sure, why not? When I was a young guy, I was fortunate enough to have people share some good quality bloodlines with me. That's probably what kept me in the sport, is that I was able to have a little bit of taste success at an early age. So if there's somebody that would, once we're able to ship again, right now is a little trouble shipping. Yeah, there's, I have a few to share. I think, Doc, we're going to Are you going to raffle a
I
couple?
will, I will ask some questions because some of the questions will be tackled later on. So, to
I
answer
think
the
we're gonna.
question from Dexter Burgos, there was a question. What year did you start breeding here in the Philippines?
Oh, now you're gonna you're asking me about how old I am. It was in the
No, the breeding. No, no, no. When did you breed here in the Philippines? That was the question.
I would think it's probably about 1980 when I started. I graduated high school in 1981. Me and my brothers started. I think we got our first trio. It was a trio of blacks, by the way, black shufflers. I think that we got those in 1980, right before I joined the military, and then my brothers stayed there in Texas, and I went on to the military. But we kept, they kept, just like here, OFWs go out, they still keep their farms with their families. It's no different for me. But I think it wasn't until that was when I first, but it wasn't until we started getting really see those first ones. We're just young guys. It wasn't until some years later when I acquired some toppies from Mr. Kazura that I'm thinking this is in the early 90s. I'm thinking that our breeding took a next step, and we were able then to compete in the local derbies at that level. If you think about the area I grew up in, just give you a few names. A little distraction there. The Gray Soldiers guy. My brother went to high school with his son. Glenn Justice, Mr. Justice passed away already, but he was a big chicken man. He was right there. The ones up there in DeKalb are the Hatch guys. Anyway, I grew up in an area with a lot of big name rooster guys, and on the border of East Texas there, it was only about 45 minutes drive to. At that time, you could go into Louisiana, and there was legal fights there. You could fight legally, so it wasn't breaking any laws. So it was. It was tough where I grew up, even at a young age, because we all go to the breeders, us young guys, and we'd get their roosters that they weren't going to use in the big competitions or send to Philippines or Mexico, and those are the roosters we were using to compete against each other with. So it was tough. It was tough.
You started young in the game fowl industry.
I think I first seen my first game rooster though. Probably when I was about 11 or 12 years old is when I first seen him, and maybe I went to my first derby around 13 or 14, and it's just in the area I grew up in, a lot of Hispanics, and Mexican guys. They like to fight the short knife, so if their daddies had roosters. I didn't come from a family that my dad was not a breeder. He didn't mind game fowl, but he wasn't a breeder. So, but a lot of my friends, their fathers had game fowl, and as I got older, I figured out what they were for and the difference between a game rooster and a 45 day. It's a big difference. And I was intrigued. I was intrigued by the way the game fowl look. They're so majestic. They're proud. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of how I'd like to see myself. And when I see that young stag out there, it's not afraid of nothing. He's always behaving as he should. Maybe that's the way I'd like to envision myself back in that day. Not anymore. I'm an old guy now.
They want to keep coming after the pullets. Yeah. Maybe you can relate.
Yeah.
So when did you start breeding here in the Philippines? What year?
I imported my roosters 2006. That's when I imported my first roosters here. At that time, I imported the yellow egg hatch, the round heads, and some toppies. It's the first roosters I imported. 2006, I think 2009, I fought my first stag derby. well, we don't even want to talk about it. But I did win my first Derby here. I did win my first significant Derby in 2009. And things just started getting better from there.
Started at 2006, and then the first championship you had that was significant was 2009. But
That was the first.
You've been winning here and there before that.
Yeah, I had. We'd won quite a few derbies back in the States. And I don't have. I had a whole room of trophies that was at my parents' house while I was off in the Army, and so I didn't take them with me. I just anytime we'd win a trophy or something, we just leave them there at Mom and Dad's. Then I don't know what year it was. My mom and dad's house burnt down. All them trophies are gone. So no more record of those trophies. I'd won trophies there from.
They're not aficionados who will keep those mementos. Okay, Dexter Burgos. I hope we answered your question when Sir Calvin started breeding. So we'll answer another question here from BG Game Yard. Okay, Aljer, can you read the question?
Buddy, question from BG Game Yard. What is your base bloodline, Idol Calvin?
Okay, what's your base blood in your farm?
Yeah.
I have to say everyone says just they want a signature line, but for me, I've had these lines for so long now. I have to say the yellow-legged hatch and the roundheads. The leapers probably would be next in line. I really don't want to pick between one of them. I can breed all three of them together. I have made some three-way crosses, I'm playing with. I can breed them to each other, back and forth. I see some differences, but I don't see a difference I see some differences in their characteristics. I don't see some differences in performance, in the win. That's what I'm really looking for. That's what makes it tough for me. Doc, if Mr. Aljar there, if I can offer one thing here about people, and they ask me about the types of roosters, I always tell everybody, young guys I'm talking to, I said, select a line of roosters that you like, that make you happy. It doesn't matter, Doc, whatever kind you like, or Mr. Aljar, whatever kind you like. If that's not what's going to make me happy, or the ones I like to look at, because there's going to be some days when you didn't do so well. No matter how hard you work or how hard you try, you're just going to have some of them days. That's just part of Sabong. And if you don't, out there in your yard, no matter if you got 10 or 1,000, if you're not happy with those roosters when you go outside, for whatever reason, your buddy likes them, so you said, oh, I must like them too. Nah, if you're not happy with them roosters, even on a bad day, then you don't have the right roosters. I find that, especially as I get a little older now, that no matter what mood I'm in, even if I had a bad day, at the cockpit or in the social life, if I go to the farm and I look at those roosters, my perception of life, my mind, it's a different focus. It distracts me, and so guys, have what makes you happy. It has to make you happy. If it don't make you happy, don't have it. That's just some words of advice.
Yes. That's a good advice. So I can mention one of our endorsers who didn't choose what people wants, the chicken type that they want. He chose the type that he wants. So this is Alvin Ebokebora. So he chose the bagoong line. So these are the typical chickens who have, you have a crown, feathers on the top with a muff. But that's his chicken. So he's happy breeding them. So majority of our breeders, if you're not happy with the bloodlines you have because you bred with what they want, not you, most likely you won't be successful. Correct? Buddy?
That's right, Doc. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're the ones that have. Yes, Doc. Go ahead, Aljar.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old lines that I always see on your farm is the toughies. Do you have it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's I talked to the Doc. Thank you for bringing that up.
That's why I'm smiling.
I talked to Doc a little bit earlier today. I talked about the toppies. Those are one of them lines. Not everybody likes toppies. They got straight comb and they got kind of a big head, and it's just sometimes they're not the prettiest chickens. So I don't raise so many of them. I raise enough to keep the bloodline going, and they're one of them. They're like hennies for me. I raise the best that I can, but they're for my personal use. And as long as I'm going to have roosters, I'm going to have toppies. They've been with me since. I can't. I wish I could remember the exact day we went to Dallas, right outside of Dallas, to Mr. Kazura's farm and selected them. Very nice guy. He's Asian as well, I think. Anyway, I can't remember so much. I just know that those are one of the roosters that have always made me happy. People who ask me, why do you like toppies? I don't know. I just like them. I like them.
Yeah, that's why I breed them. That's the point of what Sir Calvin is saying. If you like them, breed them.
I have an Australian friend here.
Breed chickens that makes you happy. That's the point.
I have an Australian friend here. He's got one year left until he's already built a farm down there. Is it San Isabella or near San Enrique Cockpit? Aljar, where's San Enrique? It says right in there, Isabella, something. Anyway, he already has his farm built. He's married to a Filipina, and he has 1 year left before he retires. He breeds muffs. He's a muff breeder.
Yeah, the one with a beard.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like muffs, but he loves them. So hey, if it makes you happy,
that's his chicken. That makes him happy.
That's right. It's
let's go to the second question.
Okay, the second question is, buddy. Okay, we read it in Tagalog, then Dok Arvin will translate to you. Second question.
Okay, go ahead.
Ano ang masuggest mo sa bumibili ng mga materyales, lalo na sa mga nagsisimula pa lamang magbe-breed, or pang personal na rason man ito, pang komersyal? Okay.
Okay, Sir Calvin, that's the second question. Aljer will translate it.
Is that the question that says, what tips can you give our Kasalto when choosing brood hens and brood stags?
If I were a first timer and I will go to your farm, what are the tips you would give me to look at in selecting a brood fowl or a brood hen?
That's a very good question, and it's really a realistic question too. Some of my lines are better suited to fight as cocks. They just, when they mature, they don't mature as fast as the others, and they're better to fight as cocks. For me, I don't mind that. It's like the hennies. I don't mind that they don't allow hennies in the stag derbies, because I think my hennies get smarter as they mature. And maybe it's the way I bred them, because of the style I prefer with hennies. I do not like rushers. Hennies supposed to stand there and wait. And with stags, I don't usually get that, but once they molt into cocks, then I get that performance. Again, a little bit what we talked about. You have to select something that makes you happy. Characteristics. Now it's in America. I'm going to speak as an American now, because even though I live here, and I like to think of myself as part Filipino now, but as an American, I have to say this: if possible, when you want to select brood fowl that you've watched perform in the cockpit or anywhere. Just watch them perform. And I don't mean just spar. I mean the real thing. So you can see what their actual traits are. You can see, when they get tagged a little bit, how they react. You can actually see how well they cut, how they're, or how easy or how hard are they to handle during gaffing and the warm up, and as we get ready to perform. Those, because if you're raising roosters to fight, those have got to be significant questions that you would ask.
Yes.
Now, sure, I will agree with everybody. Everybody loves beautiful chickens. They just do. We all do. But in our game, performance is the very last thing, the very last box you have to check. And the one that keeps our farm alive or keeps us able to compete is when we see the W up there. The saying, everyone loves a winner. That's a true saying. That's a very true saying. And it's easier for me when you're going to select materials. Sure, you can go to someone's farm and you can spar roosters and you can say, yeah, I like that, but most people can't spar hens. Hens. How do you select hens? It's
what is your tip regarding hen?
Yeah, you have to have. Yeah, that's selecting a hen is actually a lot harder than the rooster. The body configuration is important. Feathering, eyes, and in today's when I select, I'll select. Let's say I'm gonna like that. You got some pullets there and that pin. I don't know how you got that picture. I know that's my picture, but I don't know where you got it.
That's a picture from your Facebook.
Anyway, say we got that. Let's say that's a group of young pullets there, and I'm going to select some out of there for breeding. Now I'm going to physically put my hands on, just like just like everyone else would. I'm going to physically put my hands on each and every one of them pullets and check all them things to see which ones. I'm only going to select the best of the best. But something I've recently started doing is I physically, and a Filipino taught me this. A Filipino engineer friend of mine, he taught me this. He gets out this measuring tape, and I'm like, we're selecting pullets. What are you going to do with that? He starts measuring the legs, and he writes down the length of the legs and the band numbers, and then you'll notice that some of them, the leg length is a little bit longer than the others. And he says, with everybody's pretty hot for station right now, so I've started, if they don't meet the certain criteria for leg length, then I just don't use them. Of course, they have to meet all the other characteristics, but that was his last straw there. He said they have to meet this, and if they do, then if they passed all the other tests and they can meet this test, then they can, we can go to the brew pen.
Do you have idea on how long the length is?
I knew you were going to ask me that question. That's a good question. I will tell you that, and everybody measures it different. Where, I don't know if you can see in the picture, everyone measures it different. Yeah, you have to develop your own standard. For me, I will tell you that I know, because I'm always measuring stags to check them. I check stags more often than anything. That I'm using an 85 millimeters is my criteria. And again, I probably have a different start and stop point there, but 85 millimeters is my criteria. If you don't make 85 millimeters, you don't make the brood pen. I don't care how good you are. It's just in today's world that you got to meet all the other characteristics and meet the station for me to use.
That's for the hen, the pullet, or that's for the
I use it on both. It's 85. I think remember, I'm come from the imperial system. You always use metric. But I think
we're thinking of the inches.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's 85 millimeters, I believe, is
that's 8.5 inches.
When I kind of measure it the same way that they measure a gaff. When they're healing and they put the gaff on the leg, I kind of measure it the same way. And not inches. Because it's millimeter. It's only. I kind of measure it the same way. If they don't, and that's my own criteria. And if it don't make 85, it's not getting used. Again, it's just one of those things that I've developed, and each of you can, each of our listeners out there can find their own means.
Standard measurement.
Yeah, if I'd have been smart, I'd have maybe made a little video on how to do that to show people how I've done that, and it's improved my station a little bit, but it's helped me to standardize my station through my lines. Because now I'm not just looking at them, I'm physically checking them as well.
And their height structure is becoming standard. That's the best thing out of it.
It's getting more consistent. It's pretty consistent before, but now it's really consistent. That because I've been able to figure out how to standardize. I don't know. Maybe it's just I got too much time on my hands, and but I think it's helped me.
Yeah, I've seen breeders do that. So they have a standard measurement, starting from the joint of the leg part and up to this is the usual length they measure. The joint part on the part of the leg, and then up to the prop toe. That's their standard measurement. But that's the standard their measurement.
I'm starting at the prop toe and going up to the joint as well.
So the measurement will vary depending on where you're going to measure. From what point to point you're going to measure. Okay, next slide. Okay. Yes, Aljer?
Buddy, did you I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you breed your whites cross to your blacks or blacks to white?
That's a good question. I seen it over here as well. That's a good question. I have never done that, but last year or the year before, I don't remember. I was at Mr. Ting's area up there, and I seen some roosters, and I asked him. They were white, and they had a few. I think, what do you call that here? White with the black. I don't remember. Anyway, I'd seen some white stags up there, and they had a few black feathers.
I think that's Sukan. We call them in Tagalog.
Yeah, and I asked him. I said, "Well, what are these? Good looking." He said, "Well, that's white crossed on the black," and they were super. I just haven't had a chance to do it, but I'd like to. I'd like to try it. And, it's one of those things as a breeder, getting to experiment and put this together and that together, and hope we find the magic and hit the home run.
That's one of the reasons which excites the breeders. They're playing around with some breed and expecting something that to come out like this one. So the expectation is what you are fond of.
Yeah, I will try it this year. I will try it.
The White Ranger.
I know that you got good whites too, Aljar. You don't tell people, but you got good ones.
Yeah, those whites were the one who brought him to the championship of Digmaan. Digmaan, right?
That's right. I've seen him. I've seen him perform.
Okay, let's go to the third question. Next slide. Okay, so in Tagalog, ano ang basihan mo sa pagbuo ng isang panlaban o materyales? Okay, Sir Calvin, so what are the points you consider when breeding one bloodline to another to create a battle stock?
This is a good point. I don't hear this used very much anymore. When we take one line we consider to be let's say straight blood or pure, and then we use another line straight bred or pure, and we put them together. Yeah, like that. Those are good pictures right there. Like with that right there, what we're trying to do is produce a hybrid vigor. It would take the best characteristics of both lines and put them together. Like let's use the picture right there. The gray right there is probably a good cutting, a good game, hard trying rooster, and the other one over there is just I don't know if it's a dark hatch or a black.
I think these are for materials.
They're probably going to be a really fast rooster, fly high. So we're going to put them together, and we hope that we get the best out of each line into what we're going to call our hybrid vigor. Guys can do a little bit more research on that term, hybrid vigor. It's for me as a breeder, it's a very significant trait. When you're breeding roosters that are not genetically stable, it's not very likely that you're going to get the hybrid vigor, but you're going to get the opposite. And instead of the good traits, we're going to get the traits that are a little less desirable, like they're going to be mean. They're going to be what do you call it? Pintas. They're going to be
fighter.
Yeah, they're going to be. They're just going to have a poor style. They're going to be slow. So, when we think of that, a trait that I've always tried to follow, and one of my main mentors told me, I haven't always followed it but when possible, I tried to breed straight comb to peak comb, or peak comb to straight comb. I don't know why. It seems like the genetics in the peak comb rooster are different than the genetics in a straight comb rooster, and when you match them two bloodlines together, again, we're hoping for that hybrid vigor, and it's getting the best of both traits. I have bred roosters together to produce, certain colors, because I like that color. I'm going to try and do that. Some years ago, I wanted to try and produce white golds because I seen our friend, Mr. DeCina, he had some beautiful white golds. I said, I'd like to have some of them. And I tried to produce. I can't make white golds. I can't do it. I'm just going to have to leave them for Michael to take care.
But you're going to cross them with your hennies, or you're going to produce a gold henny.
I don't know what I tried for about 3 years to produce some white golds, and I couldn't do it. And I said, if I want a white gold, I'm just going to ask Michael to get one.
That's not your chicken.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I could not. I tried breeding gold roosters to the white hens, the white roosters to the gold hens, and I tried to breed them, half and halves, and I just couldn't make it work. Maybe the lines I had just weren't good enough or the right genetics to do that. It's just one last. Let me add one last thing there, not to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Breeding is always a test. Always a test. And we can speculate and we can say, "Oh, that should be good." But I've known, because I've had my hands on roosters and hens from different breeders that had the top lines in the United States, and I've mated them together, and it didn't work. Not all bloodlines can breed together, so everything's always a test. That's why it's important. Once you make a mating, if possible, save those materials until you see the performance, so that I've failed in this too. If you actually produce those superstars, you're able to reproduce them. I've produced some roosters in the past, just super roosters, but then I let the materials get away from me, and I couldn't produce any more of them.
That's a lost opportunity, Sir Randall.
Yeah.
Anyway, I agree with you. I usually also breed the way you're breeding. Breeding the straight comb. As much as possible, if I could do that, I will breed the straight comb to the peak comb. And I agree with you, breeding those two traits with the different combs produce a high percentage with a hybrid vigor. So when you talk about hybrid vigor, it means that the chicks that you're going to produce are more healthy, more sturdy. So basically, that is the meaning of hybrid vigor. So you're not producing weak chicks. When you produce healthy chicks that are really going to have the potential of those breeders, those are the hybrid vigor Sir Calvin is talking about. And of course, I also agree. I've been asked a question: what do you think would be the best cross would be? I usually tell them to breed, to practice, to try to breed it. The same cross on the other farm that has produced winning stags may be different from you, even if you copy the breeding, right, Sir Randall?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
So you have to
Yeah.
try to breed it first. And
Yeah,
you
I
are
mean,
the only one who can answer the question.
and it's your time. We can get our money back, but the time we spend, everyone's limited by the resources about how many we can produce. So if we spend our time to produce, say, one year, 18 months, whatever, before we find out that they're no good, that's just that's why we don't want to do it anymore. Because
yes,
as I'm getting older, I know that time is short. You young guys, you still got the benefit of time, but like me, I'm at the end of my career pretty much, and so I have to make use, and I would encourage you to make the best possible use of your time.
for taking a break for around 2 minutes, let's answer two questions. Another question, I see this from Christian Mariano Placido. Sir Aljer, kindly read the question.
Buddy, here's a question from Mr. Mariano Placido. Sir Calvin, is leaper a hatch? I have read on one article that the only way to get leaper hatch is by crossing leaper to a hatch.
That's one of the questions usually I hear. Is sleeper a hatch or a different thing?
Leaper is for me, and just my opinion is just no better or no worse than anybody else's. It's just but what I know from the history, leaper is was developed by, I think it's a Judge Leaper. I think it was 3 bloodlines he fused together to produce this, and I say it's its own hatch line. I believe Leaper is its own hatch line with its own characteristics. That's because when I see Gilmore, I see that they have their a hatch line with their own characteristics as well. I don't know what you would breed a Leaper to make it any more hatch than it already is. But again, everyone has a little bit different opinion about things. But as I understand from what I've read and from what I've heard people talking, that leaper hatch was originally by Judge Leaper, and he fused 3 families together to produce those. I just don't know. I don't know if I can answer it any better than that. I'm not going to disagree with someone saying that. I'm not going to, but I don't agree with it either. I would say that for me, my leapers are hatch roosters. They show all the characteristics of hatch rooster.
Performs. For you, it's a hatch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody has its own opinion, buddy.
Okay, Christian Placido. I think in Sir Calvin's opinion, it was a hatch. So another question before we take a break from Haji Numoto. So what are your winningest cross? So what cross has performed you high performance with you?
The winningest cross. That's the $1 million question.
Yes.
But I will tell you that I have won. In the last 20 years. Let's just say I've been fighting. Let's say I've been fighting long knife for the last 18 years. In the last 18 years, yellow-legged hatch, crossed round heads. I've won more fights with them than anything else. But that's probably because I've raised more of them than anything else. Percentage-wise, 1 year, leaper bullocks, unstoppable. And then the next year, it's they're only 50-50 for me. It just, some years one breeding is a little bit stronger than the other mating, and I'd like to think that all of my lines are consistent and that they all have about the same, winning percentage, and they allow me, to compete no matter where, at any level, with about the same level, no matter which ones they are. One thing you have to remember is that I never, when I select roosters to fight or to train, let's use to train. When I select roosters to train, I select roosters by performance. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what breed they are. I don't care what mark they are. I'm selecting by performance. I don't. That's just how it is. If you can't perform, you can have the best marks in the world and the prettiest tail feathers, but if you can't perform, I don't need you in my cock house.
You're out of the farm.
Yeah.
Just a question, Sir Calvin. A follow-up question for Sir Haji. When you're breeding the cross of the yellow-legged hatch and the lacy-rounded, which side is the yellow-legged hatch and which side is the rounded?
That's a very good question. That's really a good question, because there are some lines that only the hen is good for to produce crosses with. Don't ask me why, but what has worked best for me in the past is I breed the yellow-legged rooster to the white hens, to the white-legged hens. So I'm breeding yellow-legged hatch to the roundhead hens. That's the one that's consistently been the best for me. Now, I've tried it the other ways too, but I just like it that I'm using yellow-legged hatch rooster to the roundhead hens.
Okay, so typically they are the hatch rounded, what you call them. Okay, so after okay, Aljer, you have got an additional?
Yes, in addition with Sir Calvin talking about the yellow-legged, same as mine, based on what I used to in the cockpit, in the pit, the blacks and the yellow-legged, either way, either
both ways.
Hen, both ways, yeah.
They perform well either way.
Either way,
Doc,
yes, yeah, they perform well.
Doc, you notice what he just said there? In the cockpit, that there is a key for us, because I don't remember Mr. Aljar fighting any of those, but again, like he said, it's not what someone would come to your farm and want to select, because in the cockpit it's what that's one of my sayings as well. In the pit, that's where it counts for us.
Yeah, that's where you test them. That's where you get the data. Okay, we'll pause for a short break. Let's watch a video for around 2 minutes, and then we'll go back to the fourth question. It's going to be about the breeding and conditioning method of Sir Calvin. Okay.
Nung naguna ako nag-breed, nung 2012, medyo marami yung mortality ng sisiw ko kasi wala pa tayong idea kung paano mag-alaga ng mga sisiw lahat sa parte ng pagmamanok.
Nagsimula ako mag-breed, ang mga problema ko dito sa farm, number 1, tao. Number 2, yung facilities. Number 3, yung mga sakit ng manok.
Mahirap mag-umpisa na nag-aral. Mas mahirap siguro kung hindi ka nag-aral. Etong pagmamanok.
Kung gusto ka magbenta, medyo mababa pa yung value sa manok mo kasi hindi pa kilala, hindi pa ka nakaano ng mga derby, naka-champion.
So basically I started as a backyarder and I'm still learning day by day basically. And
malaki-laki rin ang tuition fee ko sa pagmamanok.
Hindi ka financial stable, mahihirapan ka talaga mag-survive, lalo na kung ganito karaming manok na.
Sobrang challenge talaga mag-breed. Mahirap mag-breed, lalo na pag walang tutulong sa'yo, walang gag-guide sa'yo kung ano yung gagawin mo.
Nag-conduct tayo ng bit mission.
Dinidisinfect namin yung farm. Gumamit sila ng Galimax 21. Nasiyahan sila. Ngayon, marami silang napalabas na sisiw.
Sa kunting production niya, ngayon, unting-unting,
lumalaki.
Kontento siya sa produkto natin. Wala na siyang hahanapin pag iba.
It was a good decision. I don't have any complaints with Salto. The service is very good.
Malaki ang epekto sa farm ko kasi dumami yung manok ko, naging healthy sila, tumataas ang winning rate nila.
Nag-increase ang sales ko dahil sa produkto nila.
Ang kagandahan ng Salto, hindi lang maganda yung feeds, pati na rin yung service nila.
Noong gumamit na kami ng farm management ng Salto, tapos yung vaccination program, feeding system, and feeds natin, vitamins, we are a lot better than we used to be. I believe Salto will go a long way and dominate the market.
Hanggang may production na Salto, Salto pa rin ako.
Quality yung feeds at saka maganda yung servisyo nila, panalo.
Masasabi ko talaga na partner for production ang Salto.
True partner for production.
Okay. So, mga Salto, tuloy-uli natin yung ating usapan ng Alas ng Salto. Ano natin, ang kanyang usapang breeding, bloodline, at conditioning. So, before we answer the fourth question, misisingit lang ako sa question daw, parang follow-up to sa before nung ating pinag-usapan. Coming from Elcar Sabanal Tudtod. Sir Calvin, what's the difference between a yellow-legged hatch and a leaper hatch? It's the same hatch? From Elcar Sabanal Tudtod. So can you give a difference? Can you differentiate the two, the leaper and the yellow-legged hatch? Yes, Sir Calvin, you're on mute. Okay, you're on mute, Sir Calvin. Yeah. Okay. So the question was, can you differentiate the yellow-legged hatch and the leaper hatch? From Elcar Sabanal Tudtod. Okay, Sir Calvin?
Oh, looks...
Okay. I think Sir Calvin has a problem technically. Sir Calvin, can you hear us? Sige.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, before sagot tayo ng sagot tayo ng pang-animal health na question. Shoutout actually ako na magsasagot siguro nung question kay Sir Calvin. Mas madaling sagutin yun eh. So going back to the question of Tudtod, so what is the difference between the yellow-legged hatch and the leaper hatch? Well, for one thing, makikita mo, yung sign is yung kanilang sa paa lang. Normally, they are both, sabi nga ni Sir Calvin, sinabi niya na for him, yung leaper is hatch. For the others, they consider na hindi siya hatch. But speaking lang in terms of when they're both hatches, no? Yung yellow-legged hatch, normally color niyan, minsan nagwa-wine red, pero pinagkaiba nila malaki ay yung mismong paa. Kaya tinawag yan na yellow-legged hatch kasi yung pinaka-shank niya kaysa sa mga typical hatch is usually yellow. So that is called yellow-legged hatch. Yung mga yellow-legged hatch ay yung makikita mo doon sa mga example niyan would be yung mga Stuart na yellow-legged hatch and then yung mga Okrog na yellow-legged hatch, yung mga captain. So example yun. So basically the difference is yung kulay ng paa. Okay? Sir Calvin, are you online ready? I think we're having okay. While waiting for Sir Calvin, Sir Aljer.
Yes.
So what is the condition? Kamusta ang Bacolod? Tagalog na tayo, sorry. Wala na nga pala si Calvin. Kamusta ang Bacolod ngayon?
Ngayon, sobrang maliwalas yung daan kasi lockdown eh. Kaya nga, ngayon dito na ako sa sasakyan kasi bawal kung saan-saan ka ngayon kung ano. Nandito ako sa sasakyan ngayon kasi sa bahay, brown out. Walang ilaw. Kaya nga, sacrifice tayo ngayon kasi sa pandemic na ito. Although, may mga news na pabalik na yung sabong, hopefully. Either siguro the earliest dito sa Bacolod by by October. Siguro parang matutuloy na yung
nag-hoping talaga. Pero parang malaki ang malaki ang mga chismis na possible na yun, na matuloy na by as early as late September. Hopefully. Kamusta ang mga partners natin naman dyan, Sir Aljer?
Yung mga partners natin dito, sila, yung sa early bird parang hindi sila masyado magbi-breed. Although may iba na magbi-breed pa rin sa early bird. But sa base sa feedback, personally 100% most of our partners, 100% sa regular season sila magbi-breed. Pero hindi na yun kung ano yung karami before. Naghihintay pa rin sila kung kailan mababalik yung sabong. Once na bumalik na yan, sigurado sila.
Parang si Calvin din, sabi rin parang nag-wait din siya sa flow na kung ano mangyayari sa sabong. So ang nagiging main problem talaga ng mga breeders ngayon ay puno yung mga talian. So parang yun ang number one na nagiging hindrance nila para mag-breed. Kasi nga naman, pag nag-breed sila, saan naman nila itatali? Pero sa akin, ang labanan kasi niyan, kung sakali naman mag-breed pa rin kayo, hindi naman this year. So no, next year yan. So yung problem na kung saan tatali, mag-risk ka talaga. Pero hopefully, by the time na itali na sila, nag-move na yung mga nakatali natin. So sagot muna tayo ng question. Ito, okay. From question Quintilla. Okay, Lenti Quintilla Fernandez. Good PM, Doc. Ano ba ang maganda ipakain kapag naglulugo ng manok? Aljer, sagutin mo muna ito. Nakamute ka, Sir Aljer.
Come again?
Question from Elcar sa Tudtud. Sorry, bumba. Andali Natabunan Wait lang. Okay, question from Quintana Fernandez. Good PM. Ano ba ang magandang ipakain kapag naglulugo ng manok? Question from Elcar sa Tudtud. Yan, okay. Sige, go ahead, Aljer. Ano masasuggest mo ipakain sa mga naglulugo ng manok?
No, medyo nawala ako. Babalik ako mamaya. Wait. I'll be back.
Sige, Leti Fernandez. Okay, ako na sasagot. Okay. Ayan, Sir Calvin. Okay, sagutin ko muna to, Sir Calvin, before tayo mag-proceed. So, pag naglulugo ng manok, anong magandang ipakain? Normally, siyempre, dapat yung nutrition yan, huwag niyong i-sacrifice. Kasi nagiging practice sa karamihan, pag naglulugon, bibigyan ng mga pagkain na medyo mahina nutrisyon. Kasi mas mababa ang presyo nito. Kasi nga, parang ang idea, hindi naman gagamitin, pakainin nila ng pagkain na basta lang maitawid sa, kumbaga, sa pang-araw-araw. Ang nagiging problema nito, pag dating ng paglulugon, nangangailangan nito ng magandang protina, magandang nutrisyon. Pag pinapakain mo ng mahinang quality ng patoka, ang magiging tendency niyan, yung mga kailangang ingredient o nutrient para tumubo ang balahibo ng maganda, masisira siya, siyempre. So sa amin, ang sinasuggest namin usually dito is yung mga Power Mix 2. So mga Power Mix 2 or Power Mix 3, ito yung mga nutrient na kailangan na sa paglulugon para tumubo ng magandang balahibo at ang katawan hindi magsapola, nandito na po. So ako, Sir Fernandez, I suggest yung Power Mix 2 or Power Mix 3. So medyo adjust ka lang kasi ang pag naglulugon, hindi yan masyado magalaw yung iba. So tingnan mo lang kung medyo nagsasapola ng konti, magbawas ka ng konti. Pero yung nutrition yan, well-equipped yan, kumbaga well-suited para sa tamang paglulugod, tamang pagtubo ng mga balahibo. So pagdating ng pagtapos ng lugo niyan, ang ganda ng mga balahibo ng manok natin. Ang ganda ng katawan, hindi namamayat. Okay? Okay, Sir Calvin? Okay, Sir Calvin. So we'll go proceed with with the next question. Okay? So, question number 4.
Okay, question number 4, buddy. Ano ang mga katangian ang hinahanap mo sa pagpili ng stags na ihahanda sa laban?
Okay, English?
Let me see. Let me try and translate that. I think you said, how do I condition stags and cocks differently?
No. Yeah. That's the question number 5. That's the question for this.
Number 4.
The question is, what are the What
Characteristic.
do you look for when you choose a stags to be conditioned?
That's really a good question. I'm fortunate because I have a lot of stags in the last years that we can select from. One of the most important characteristics for me is the desire. They want to perform. It doesn't matter how good they are if they don't want to. If they don't want to do their business when it's time, then what good is it for you to spend all 45 days training them and spending money for that conditioning feed and medicines, and then they're not gonna show. I always tell stags, for me, I like stags I don't like mean stags, especially as I get older. I don't like roosters that want to, pint us, that want to bite me or hit me. I don't have any time for that. I don't, especially in the game we play. I don't want one of those to take a chance with my handler. He's too important to me. I don't want anything to happen to him. I don't want him to get hit by one of those. So automatically, if you're a mean stag, you just got kicked out. That doesn't mean that they can't be tamed down. It just means that if I find one that's just crazy, he's gone. So that's a point. I want stags that have a desire, that want to perform. I guess you could say I don't necessarily want aggressive stags, but I want one, if something's going to get close to him, he's gonna hit first. I think I've won more fights in the last few years because my roosters will hit first than anything else. I think that's one of our key things we work for, is to hit first. I prefer stags that have natural ability off the start. I'd like to think that me and the young guys that I work with, we can train in just about anything, but roosters with natural ability are just easier to train. And it's just no different than humans. Before I went to the military, I wasn't a professional athlete, but I had thought about it. And there are just some people who are naturally, just like, and roosters is the same way. You can make the correlation, who are naturally gifted to be better than others. And when you're selecting cocks or stags, when you're selecting, try to select those individuals to train, because a couple of sayings in America is that good feeders, handlers, make good roosters, but good roosters make better feeders. I know it's a little play on words, but my mentor told me one time, he said, only take the winners to the cockpit. The others, you can save them for Tonolo, or is that the right pronouncing? Tonolo, and you'll save your money.
One of the Filipino favorite dish.
Yeah, I like it too. I like Filipino foods. That's one of the things about being here. I unfortunately, I really like it too much, probably, and I've gained some weight. But
it's a soup, chicken soup, really, with papaya, but it really is good for eating during rainy days.
Yes, it is.
What are you watching here in Sir Calvin? This is the gray. Is this one the tapi you're talking about or not?
I'm sorry. No, that rooster right there.
Yeah, the gray one.
The gray. That may be a toppy gray cross. It may be. I can tell from, I still had hair there, so it's got to be, picture's got to be about 7 or 8 years old. But I think that's what it is. It also may be, I trained some roosters for Art Lopez some years ago, and in that group there were some toppies, great toppies. He has some, I don't know if they're flary eyes, but he had some great toppies that were pretty good, and we trained some of them for NGBA. I don't know. I don't know exactly when.
You were the one who chose the stags to be conditioned?
Yes. No, well, I say I was. We went up to Mr. Lopez's farm, and me and him and my handler, we went through, I don't know, about 100 roosters and picked out what we thought was the show. We did pretty good, too. I think we went 6 straight. And then on the finals, I messed them up in the cock house, and we didn't do any good. But we should have. We had a chance. We just didn't get there at the end, but we had a chance.
Yeah, I think you have mentioned before that it's easier for you to choose the chickens you bred because you know them. They have the performance. They have the record. What
Yes.
about when choosing a stag like the story you said? This is a breeding of a different breeder. So actually, the idea of knowing the bloodlines is not that really
No.
wide. So how do you choose stag to fight on the breeding of a different breeders?
You know that's a good question, Doc, and it's an important question. You know, if you're say you're only say you're an OFW and you only come home once we get all this pandemic stuff, and you only come home and you're gonna select some roosters to fight. Again, it doesn't select the roosters that have the style or performance that you want. If you want roosters that are Salto, I think they use Salto in the terms. It's a term here. I've heard Ilongos use sometimes. It means I think it means, if I translate it right, is that they move good on the ground. They're you can't find them. They're here, there, everywhere, and maybe those roosters don't fly so well. If everything, your first, you should make a checklist for yourself. Do you prefer roosters that fly? Do those roosters that win for you that fly? Because the way you train and your conditioning method, that just works better. Or the way you train roosters that have the Salto style, they perform better. Then select roosters, and I think most people do that. They select roosters that based on their own criteria. I select roosters. I personally know that the fight's going to be on the ground soon enough. Of course, I want a rooster that's going to break the initially, but after that, I know it's on the ground, and at least I think it's going to be on the ground. So that's what I'm looking for, and I like roosters that strike first. I want to hit first.
A very good point. Most really handlers and fighters, they really look at the first buckle and choose the first cock that hits first, not the other way around. The one that hits the opponent first. So that's one of the main important points to consider when choosing a stag for fighting. Okay, next slide.
Same with me, Doki.
Yun. So these are a few pictures of you, Sam, I found in the Facebook before. I'm not sure if you really have this one. I think that the right side is an acyl type. Do you have that one?
The white?
Yeah, with the white streamer.
No,
the red one with the white streamer.
It actually, that rooster is, that's a stag this year. He was banded for early bird. It's 1/4 A-seal. The A-seal, it's my first years that came from Mr. Boyette Plaza. It's my first years it's about 3 years now. I've been playing with them, experimenting with them, and that's what he is. He has 1/4 of that A-seal blood.
Yeah, I can see it in the face, in the structure.
Yeah.
How about you, Aljer? What tip can you give our viewers when choosing a stag for fighting?
Like what Sir Calvin said before, earlier, choose the right one who yung pumapalo siya ng una. Wag kang mapahuli. When it comes to babakel sa taas, sa baba, kailangan mauna talaga. Kasi pag every time pag ikaw yung nasa huli, then alam mo na kung anong mangyayari doon.
Ano yan eh. Meron kami usually pag may kinakausap ako. wag na wag kang pipili ng mananabong, ng pansabong na ala Fernando po. Ang ibig sabihin, pag nakita mo kasi mga movies ni Fernando po, binubugbog siya muna, tapos saka babawi sa dulo, pang second round. Sa sabong, pag naunahan ka, kadalasan wala na second round. So, first buckle,
Yes.
malaking bagay pag siya nakakauna. Okay, so next slide. Ayan, I think this is one of your straight comb and the hatches. Is this a leaper hatch?
The one on the right side is looks leaper. The other one though looks like a radial rooster.
Okay.
I had some radials that I tried a few years ago, and I just had too many bloodlines, and I cut down on them because there's nothing wrong with them. They're good roosters. I just I can only breed so many, and
it's a good practice. Usually, of American breeders, you can hear them.
Yeah,
they keep saying that you should never be a collector of bloodline. So focus your farm, breed only on a max. They say maximum of 4 bloodlines. So and concentrate with them. So you can monitor the progress, and instead of bringing in every year, you introduce a new bloodline in your farm, and by the end of the year, you have so many bloodlines you cannot understand anymore your breeding. So focus on maximum of 4 bloodlines and improve them. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is one of the questions that I can say is really awaited, our Kasalto viewers are waiting for this question because they want to hear your point of view or method in conditioning stags and in conditioning cow. Is there a difference in how you do it?
Doc, this is a good point, and this is where use another expression here. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the end where we find out if all that hard work and how that quality feed that we give them is pays off. Training for me now, training stags and training cocks is really a total different game. Sure, we're going to get at the end and have hopefully the same winning experience, but just like humans, stags, most young guys, just like young roosters, we're in good shape. As let me use myself for an example. When I was a young man, I was in good shape. But I didn't have my head right. I didn't have my head right, and one of the things that I think that preparing stags for big derbies, we talk about NGBA 10 stag, GF Band 9 stag, Bakbakan 12, Digman 12 now. With preparing stags for those big derbies and tough competition where, everybody wants to win. What makes a difference is our preparation. Well, what about preparation? Well, for me, stags, they really don't need so much physical attention as a cock. A stag is more mental. For me, a stag is more mental. If you if you don't believe me, just watch one of the online sabong now and watch how many of them stags they don't know what to do, and they don't think about returning fire until the other rooster has already disabled them. Again, we talk first. I don't like aggressive roosters necessarily, and I like my rooster to stand there and wait. But when that other one gets in within reach, I want him paying attention, and I want him to fire. That's what I want. That's what I'm training for. I want him to fire, because then when he does fire, he can show his bloodlines off. He can show his breeding off and his cutting ability, and and all that goes along with it. Conditioning stags, like I often, when I'm training stags, I'll load the stags up in carriers like we will take them to the Derby, and carry them over to to a couple farms down there, over to I don't know if I can use the mayor's name here, over to the mayor's, and we spar with his stags, and it just gives them that feeling of when you have that feeling of anxiety, you go to a new place for a first time. Let's say you go for a new place for the first time for a job or interview. You know that feeling of anxiety you have. Well, I'm trying to alleviate that by taking them so they're used to being able to perform in unfamiliar surroundings. Again, it's all mental with stags. It's all mental. If you get them mentally right, it's no different. You talk about selection. You got stags out there. If you have a bloodline that puts their wing down, here in Negros, you put your wing down.
Gumigiri in Tagalog.
Yeah, you put your wing down here in Negros in stag derby. That's a kiss of death. You go ahead and put the big L up there because that's what it is. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad line. It may mean that there's something in your training is that you haven't got their mind right, or maybe they need to mature a little bit and be used as cocks. But in Negros,
they're not for stags, I think.
No, they're thinking about that other thing. Roosters fight because they're territorial. Well, they're territorial because of breeding rights, and that's what they're thinking about when they drop that wing. They got that young pullet on their mind, and not about defending their territory. When we get to cocks now, especially my cocks, normally by the time they make it into the where they're age cocks, they've been trained at least once before. Even in the off season, when they're not molting, we're testing. We're not necessarily fighting. We're not necessarily fighting, but we're testing. We working on our pointing procedures, and then we can spar them after we've been working with them, and you can see the difference in the spar. I always tell everybody, they always ask me, how much do you spar your roosters? Well, some roosters need more sparring than others. And they say, well, we don't spar roosters very much. And I always tell them, well, Manny Pacquiao is the world's greatest champion. You think he sparred when he was learning how to fight? You think he was, that was one of the things they used to train him? It was. And we also need to use it in our training as well. Stags, like I said, like us when we were young, we were normally pretty good physical condition. We're very active. Now, as we get older, now I'm already past that age, but you guys, you two young men there, are just getting ready to go into that age where you're going to start gaining a little weight. You're going to become less active, and that's what an age cock. That's the point with age cocks. Their mind's right, and they know what they need to do. But their body is not quite like it used to be. So they need us
to put them in shape.
They need us to put a little stress on them because it's stressful. I heard, this is a direct quote, I heard him say this. I heard Rat Graves say one time, as you know, I'm a fan of his lines. I heard him say one time at the cockpit, somebody was asking him about conditioning, and I heard him say, and it's true. I've seen it myself for 20 years, and I know it's true. He said to him, they was asking my trainer, he said, okay, go ahead, be nice to that rooster, but plan on getting him killed. He said, you want to win, you got to be a little bit tough on them. They're not supposed to like you when you're done, but they're going to perform. It's a good statement. You got to be a little tough with how much you feed them. You got to maintain their weight at probably cocks now at a little bit less than what they would like to have it at. They'd like to eat a little bit more. Heck, look at me now. I like to eat a little bit more than I probably probably should. And it's the same for cocks. They don't need to be sparred as much. In fact, it's probably better that you didn't spar them so much because they hit harder and they're I don't want to say it's easier to get bruised, but it probably is. Where stags are more resilient. I don't know if that's a good word to translate. They're more able to overcome small little nagging injuries. If we had some direct questions, Doc, it might be somebody had some
I have a
questions
question
about that.
for you.
Might be well.
Yeah, you mentioned before that there is an experience. Usually online, you can see a lot of stags lowering their wing. We call them
Right.
here. What do you do to prevent this from your stags, so they won't do it in the pit?
Well, one, it could be he wasn't smart enough. He doesn't know that other rooster wants to kill him, and it could be his breeding. It could be that you have a line of fowl. If they put their wings down, they just put them back out there. Bull stags or cocks. Don't fight them with stags. If you can only raise a few, if you're a backyard guy, then you can only raise a few. Maybe and you don't have enough to separate to say you need to fight. Everything you got is stags for the most part. You'll have to personally make the decision if you should upgrade to another line that is maybe better suited for stags, or if you're just going to go ahead and live with that trait. But in Negros, drop your wing, it's a kiss of death.
Dropping your wing is you're close to the ground. Yes, Aljer.
In short, buddy, they have to fire.
That's right. That's right.
They have to fire first.
Yeah. So follow up, Sir Calvin. Is there a difference between the feeding of stag and cock?
Yeah, because again, it's cock's metabolism is slower, and for me to maintain weight, I find I need to feed. Say that they're both the same weight, I will need to feed a stag a little bit more than I do a cock. Now, I got some help from this a few years ago. Salto now has a conditioning pellet for stags and a conditioning pellet for cocks, and that addressed the nutritional needs of stags a little bit. In fact, Aljer was me and him worked a little bit on the development of that feed, and I tried some of it. I'm using it today. Those power pellets. I like the ones for stags, and I like the ones for cocks. It's just what works for me. But for me, stags have a little bit higher calorie
needs
requirement. Yeah, they're caloric. I don't know I want to be careful with words I hear. So, but the caloric intake for stags, if they're the same way as a cock, needs to be a little bit higher because they're still growing and they're more active. They're more active than cocks are.
Their metabolism is a lot faster. Just like us. When you're young, your metabolism is a lot faster. You need more food, and you digest them and metabolize them easier when you compared to when you grow up.
That's true.
Yeah. Just like your donkey.
You have to eat less right now compared to the younger guys. Our metabolism is not that fast anymore.
Yeah, wait till you get to your 50s, huh?
I am a bit near. I still about 5 years more to go. Aljer, are you in the 50s already? Okay.
No. How old are you, Aljer? 45?
No, I have 8 years more to go.
Oh, all right.
Before reaching 60.
No, before I hit 50.
I thought before reaching 60. Okay, Sir Calvin, I think that's a lot of tips for our viewers regarding your conditioning method. I think one good point you said was bringing the stags, traveling them in the cock box to other areas just to adjust them to changes in the environment, changes in the location. That's a good
doctor. They should anything that they're going to see on fight day, let's say, from the moment you leave your house until they get to the ring, anything you see on fight day, they should have already experienced it. It shouldn't be something new. You'll sometimes, a good example is this, sometimes you'll see conditioners, especially big name conditioners, I notice it here, they like to drop their roosters or stags out when they first get to the cockpit. Well, they'll go up inside the ring and do it. That's allowed here. They let. And what are they doing? Well, they're familiarizing their stag with that area, so that when they take them there, they're not stressed by the rooster, and they're focusing. This brought up another good point. They're focusing on the other rooster. In the days gone by, and I understand that we won't be probably having lamidors as we did in the future in that noise, but in the days that gone by, one of the big distraction I always thought for stags was the noise produced by the lamidors when you first walked into the ring and getting ready. And so one of the things I did to try and prepare my stags for that is we in the conditioning area in my sparring area, we have a small speaker set up there, and I play a tape of the cockpit during sparring, the noises from the cockpit, so that while of course it's never going to be exactly the same, they get accustomed to strange noises while they're sparring. And the bottom line is, I don't want them to think about anything but that other rooster. Only thing they should think about is that other rooster and what they got tied on their leg. That's the only thing that I want them to think about for the next 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's the next 10 seconds, but I'll settle for 10 minutes too.
Yeah, that's a good point. They really have to be adjusted or oriented with the noises and the new surroundings from where they're going to fight. So I see a lot of big hunters really in the morning when they're going to bring up their cocks in the pit. And that's one way of introducing the new surrounding. So later on, when then they're going to fight, the stags or the cock are already familiar with the pit. Yeah, Aljer, any additional before we go ahead to the next question?
Okay, go ahead, Dok Arvin. Later.
Okay, so number 6 question, Aljer.
Okay, Sir Calvin. Here's the last. This is the last question.
Yes,
Dok
the last
Arvin?
question. Yes.
Okay, buddy. Here's the last question. Ano ang mga tips para sa araw ng laban ang iyong maibibigay? What is your tips, buddy? When the
on fight day.
I think this is kind of question of your pointing. I think.
Yeah, that's
What tips can you give during really, fight day, actual fight day?
We travel to depending on how far the pit is away from we have to travel. Depends on whether we used to always travel in the morning before get there and plenty of time to feed the roosters at the cockpit. Now sometimes we're still doing that. That's something I always did in America. That's how I was trained to do it. But I have found at some cockpits, especially ones that does not have air conditioning, that I can keep my roosters. Again, it's not so far away from where the farm is to these cockpits. It's I don't have so much travel time. I can keep my roosters, especially if I find out when my fight numbers is in the start. I can keep my roosters happier at home. Less stress. I've found out that's kind of been an important thing for me, and especially dealing with stags. In the last few years, we've adapted to each cockpit. We have a different time that we go, and because usually they always have their own start times depending on who the pit manager is, but depending on my fight time is when I plan to go. I will say that no matter where I'm going or where we're fighting, I always plan to be there at least 2 hours before the start of my fight. At least 2 hours. Normally it's 3. A lot of guys are going to say we don't do that, and we go early in the morning and we feed them there. I used to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I've had to adapt here because of I could keep my stags cooler and less stressed by keeping them at home for a few hours in the morning. Now, I didn't used to, but I started now. I now feed a little bit of grains in the morning, a little bit of pellets and grain, my feed mixture in the morning. I didn't used to, but I found out that what works for me is that when I didn't feed, that the roosters, especially stags, would become a little bit more nervous as the day wore on. And even though I was, maintaining their weight, I was able to hold them at where they were at by, by using snacks or my preferred snack, by the way, is a banana, using a ripe banana. But when I fed the stags in the morning, not a significant amount, but when I feed the stags in the morning, their normal feed. I don't change the feed from the start to the finish of the keep. I will increase the amount of carbohydrates in the last 3 days, but the feed mix is still pretty much the same. That when I feed them in the mornings, they seem to remain calmer. They're a little bit stress-free, and I think that's probably a common thing here in the Philippines. And most guys do feed in the mornings, but if you were trained by an American, he's probably going to tell you that you'll feed 18 hours before the fight, and you won't feed before then. That's just how I used to do it. I've changed. Before fight time, I use a stimulant, and I believe in natural training. And you're going to say, well, you use a stimulant. Well, just like everyone else, how many guys, get up in the morning and drink a cup of coffee? Why do they drink a cup of coffee? Wake up, right? Well, for me, when I think about using a stimulant, it's the same thing. And I'm using a natural one, natural, like coffee does to us. Coffee for me is a natural product, like what coffee does to them. I don't know if I'm supposed to say here, but
the active ingredient.
I'm using Avian Pro. I use Avian Pro about hour and a half before the fight. Again, very lucky here because we know the fight numbers. We can time our fights pretty much. I like it at about an hour and a half. That's where I'm using Avian Pro. All it does for me, it's supposed to be a probiotic, but for me, just like Mr. Aljar there, getting him a drink of something, wake him up a little bit, wake me up too. I'm going to have one in a minute. It's just a little stimulant, Doc. Because again, we talk about that first hit. No, I don't want them to rush across and go crazy at the other rooster. I want them to rush across at me, and my rooster's going to stand there, and then I'm going to fly vertically and I'm going to tag them. But my rooster needs to be paying attention, and that's what I want that little bitty stimulant for, is to make them pay attention.
Okay, Sir Calvin, have you encountered a problem during fight day, and what did you do so others would learn for a method for you?
That's a good question. That's a question that experience is the best teacher.
Yes.
If
just in case they would encounter the same problem, they know what we do.
Wow. If the roosters, if it's raining out, roosters sometimes will, it'll be too wet. Pick up. I will give them a couple pieces of whole rolled oats. Rolled oats are the same, but it has to be the big oats that even the oats you use for oatmeal will work fine because they're dry and it has the hull taken off of it now. They're dry and they will. There's an old picture. See, I really had a lot of hair back then.
You were really, really young. That's an example. winning
I
already.
think,
We came to
I
the
think
Philippines.
that was in my 20s somewhere. That's at my parents' home in Texas, but I think that Big Blue trophy came from a place, Chaparral, New Mexico. I think that was a short knife derby, a 5-cock short knife. Anyway, Doc, to get back there, if they're too wet, you can use something that's really dry and easy to digest as it goes through, because you want it to pass through them and drag the moisture out.
Okay.
Uh,
How much do you think they need? How much oats do you think?
It depends on how bad the rooster is or how close they are. If I use a few pieces, it's something. It's one of them things you're going to have to experiment with, and you're going to have to see. I I can look at the rooster and I can watch him go, make his business and go poo, and I can tell you, well, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. But it's hard for me to explain to you without us physically being together and letting you feel what I feel when I grab the rooster. Roosters can't speak to us in our language, but if you watch them, they're really trying to communicate with us with the way they hold themselves. And when everybody says, the young guys, I got to take a little sidebar for your thing. The young guys that I work with, the same guys have been at my farm now. Especially my handler's been at my farm since I came here. Aljar knows him. He's been here since I won my first derbies. He's been with me, and I will say he's taught me as much about roosters conditioning as I've taught him. But one thing that we've worked together on is about moisture control, because it's probably one of the most important factors. And for me, Filipinos like to weigh the rooster. I never weighed a rooster other in the States, other than when we're getting ready to fight. Filipinos like to weigh the rooster to see how the movement, see what the weight is. Is he losing weight? Is he picking up weight? Only thing I used to do in the States is we watch the pool, and we see on the pool, is he dropping a lot? Is he not? Is this? And it's without actually seeing some pool to talk to it about it and seeing the rooster, it's hard for me to explain. But I will tell you now, I use both. We weigh the rooster just like he normally does, but we also use signs of the poo, and maybe that's what we figured out, between the two of us. Yeah, because I didn't do it all on myself. This young man helped me out a lot, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want any of you come and try and steal him away from me. But also on the other side of that, if the rooster is getting too dry, banana is the best for me. Banana, the consistency of banana is like the most perfect food that God gave us. The consistency of a ripe banana is just about like the consistency of our body. And by eating or getting some banana and being able to pass it through, you're going to, I don't know how, I mean, if you think it's that severe that they've dried out that bad, it's really hot day outside, and really dry. We have some of this, is it El Nina or El Niños here? It gets really dry. I don't know. Me and Aljar a couple years ago went through a summer that was so dry as unbelievable. If you have to, give a drink of water. Well, if it's hot outside sometimes, but do everything in moderation. While you're practicing, or and every event is a learning event. Every time you go to the cockpit, it's a learning event. If you do something right, make a note to yourself somewhere. Write it down on your cell phone, send it to yourself, save it, so you can read it again later when all the excitement of the day is gone. If you do something wrong, don't tell anybody else. Don't tell anybody else. Write it down in a note to yourself, send it to yourself, so that you can see it next time and you don't do that mistake again. It's just checks and balances. Experience is the best teacher. And I often tell people, the more you train roosters, the better you're going to get. The better you're going to point roosters with the more experience. And you say, well, we only have so many roosters to fight. I said, nobody said you had to fight the rooster. Spar the rooster on day 1. If on day 21, if you see that performance increase, then you know you're doing the right job and you know your program is working. Even if he's got gloves on, if you see we have videos on our cell phones now. It's easy for us to video that and see his performance. If he got worse, then we know there's a problem somewhere. And it never hurts. It never hurts to ask someone for help. I know this isn't. I know this isn't a good time here, but Salto's helped me a lot, huh? Mr. Aljer, you helped me a lot, buddy.
Aljer's the man.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks everybody. We'll be posting for another break video, and then after this we'll be raffle. We'll do a raffle. 3 questions to raffle those two pullets coming from you. So we can have a short break, drink your coffee to keep you alert. Okay. We will get back again.
Magandang araw mga kasalto. Ako po si Dok Arvin Arcega, ang Game Foul Technical Supervisor ng Luzon.
Glenn Patrick Nagamos po, Game Foul Technical Supervisor ng Visayas at Mindanao. Ang mga produkto ng Salto ay ginawa po ito ng Pilmico.
May dalawa tayong planta dito sa Pilipinas. Ang isa ay located sa Tarlac, which is catering for the Luzon area, and another is sa may Iligan area. Ito naman nagdadala sa mga bandang area ng Visayas at Mindanao area.
Ang produkto natin ay dumaan ito sa strikto na proseso para mananatili natin ang dekalidad na produkto ng Salto.
So from the time na dumating yung mga raw mats, dumadaan yan sa mga QC to check whether fit siya para pagawin nating feeds or not. If hindi, nire-reject po natin yan. Hindi po tayo gumagamit ng mga raw mats na rejected just to make sure na ginagamit nating mga raw mats sa feeds ay maayos.
Dekalidad na raw mats gaya ng soya, mais at vitamins and minerals.
After na magawa itong mga feeds natin, dumadaan uli ito sa mga quality control. I-check nito ang quality ng pellets, tapos kung yung mga guaranteed analysis, pumasok ba doon sa ginawang feeds. If hindi yan pumasok, another yan, nire-reject na naman yan sa production kahit gawa na yan. So yan another assurance para sa mga gumagamit natin. Kung ano yung nakalagay na guaranteed natin na analysis doon sa ating mga product ay makukuha ng mga gumagamit o mga customers natin sa labas. At the same time, once ito na-produce na, hindi ito pinatatagal sa planta. Meron po tayo na maximum of 1 month lang na pag hindi pa yan nakuha, na-pull out sa planta, hindi na po natin nire-release yan. That is one of the reason to make sure na prating fresh ang dumadating do sa ating mga distributors. Ang product natin magte-10 years na by this January. So from the start nito, nag-produce tayo ng mga product. Kumbaga ang performance level ay maayos at tinanggap ng ating mga customers. Pero hindi tayo tumitigil doon kasi parati natin ini-enhance kung ano pang kailangan nating improve doon sa mga product. Dinagdagan natin ng mga grades, dinagdagan pa natin mga vitamins para lalong mas mapaganda ang performance ng bawat produkto.
Ang pagbigay ng feedback ng mga resulta ng trial natin ay mahalaga para ma-improve pa natin ang quality ng ating patuka.
Isa yan sa mga commitment na gusto nating i-assure do sa ating mga customers or consumers. Gusto natin, every year, ina-upgrade natin yung mga ating produkto sa need ng mga market. Ang industry kasi ng panabong ngayon, always changing, parati nag-i-improve. So, kailangan makasabay tayo sa panahon. Kundi, may iwan tayo sa competition dito sa market nito.
Bilang isang Game Foul Technical Supervisor, sinisigurado namin na ang Salto Tech Team, GFS at APS ay technically equipped. Sila po ay tinitraining natin sa modernong paraan para magkakumpit sa industriya ng sabong.
So from the start ng breeding, meron tayong mga programs na binibigay natin doon sa mga breeders, lalo na doon sa mga hindi kayang bumili ng mga bakuna. Time to time, nag-i-sponsor tayo ng mga bakuna to prime ng mga breeders. Pag nagawa na natin ito, meron tayong normally mga follow-up visit. Once na napisa na yung mga sisiw, nagsasuggest tayo ng mga program o mga vaccination at medication program na angkop doon sa lugar para maparami yung mga sisiw niya. Well-monitored natin yung mga yan dahil meron tayong mga bawat area na nakatutok na mga APS kung tawagin o ano mga product specialists. So from time to time, basta may problema sila, tatawag sa atin yan. Tayo naman, in return, pabalikan natin para matulungan lang natin sila. Sa mga tumatangkilik ng ating produkto, ng ating Salto, maaasahan nyo po ang technical team ng Salto ay parating nandyan upang gabayan kayo sa production nyo. Tandaan nyo po, sa Salto, ang production nyo ay sigurado.
Mga kasalto, maraming salamat at sana patuloy na tangkilikin ninyo ang produkto namin. At sisiguraduhin namin na patuloy ang aming serbisyo at matulungan kayo sa pag-unlad ang inyong pagmamanok. Sa Salto, angat sarado, diskarte ng panalo.
Okay. So, welcome back mga kasalto. Tulad na sinabi ko kanina sa introduction natin, natapos na tayo sa sa makinig. Natapos na rin tayo sa matuto. So hopefully nakinig tayo natuto. Doon naman tayo sa manalo. Okay? So ano naman po tayo sa target bullet giveaway? Ang criteria po natin para na pagsali, magbibigay po ako ng 3 katanungan. Yung 3 katanungan, ipa-flash po natin sa harapan yan. Antayin nyo lang po yung hudyat. Kung sa comment section, antayin nyo lumabas yung hudyat, yung tanong, bago po kayo sumagot. So lahat ng mga tanong na yan, pag sinagot nyo, siguraduhin nyo lang parati na merong hashtag #TeamBigKasalto bago sa tamang sagot. So antayin nyo yung hudyat, pag lumabas sa comment section, sagot kagad, i-ready nyo kagad, i-ready yung hashtag #TeamBigKasalto, tapos yung tamang kasagutan. Parati ko nung sinasabi, hanggat maaari, buuin nyo po yung kasagutan. Kasi pag kulang ang kasagutan, hindi natin kinoconsider na tama kasi kulang. So, dapat kumpleto po yung sagot na may kasamang hashtag #TeamBigKasalto. Okay? First question po tayo. Yan. Okay. So, promo question. Ito, paulit-ulit itong binabanggit ni Sir Calvin. And just a tip din po sa mga nakikinig. Nasa mga bandang huli ito. Tinanong din to. Ano ang paboritong linyada ng Alas ng Salto Calvin Randall sa kanyang manukan? So, ito yung pinaka mas recent na linyada. Kumbaga, meron siya sinasabi kanina top 3, pero for now, yun yung kanyang masasabing mas angat ng konti lang kumpara doon sa dalawa. Okay, yan. Mga mananalo po ay isang pulet na galing sa ating Alas ng Salto, Sir Calvin Randall from Paradise Game Farm. So, okay, pag nandiyan po yung hudyat, sagot na po tayo. Huwag lang po kalimutan ang hashtag #TeamBigKasalto. Tapos yung tamang kasagutan. Okay, siguro yung spelling, pwede na rin siguro nating i-consider. At sa naman. Yan, napakadaming nakasagot. So, medyo mahaba yun, pero pwede na yan. So, bigyan ko pa ng mga 5. Sobrang nanood siguro, talaga alam na alam kung isasagot sa katanungan na ito. Okay, 5 more? Ayan, okay na. So, okay na. So, congratulations sa mga nakasagot ng tama. So, reveal na po natin ang kasagutan sa unang katanungan. Ang tamang sagot. Yan, okay, leaper. So, may mga sumagot na may leaper hats, consider na rin natin yan. So, yung spelling, siyempre, hindi naman natin masasabing tama lahat. Basta alam natin na yun ang binabanggit, pwede na rin natin consider. So, congratulations. 1 pulet from Sir Calvin Randall. So, go tayo sa second question. Para pulit tayo. Yan, pangalawang question. So, ito yung mga naiwan, kumbaga na malinyada na parating sinasabi niya na isa sa mga mataas ang winning cross, kumbaga. So, ano yung 2 linyadang pinakamatagal sa manukan ng Paradise Game Farm? So, ano yung 2 linyada na makikita mo doon sa manukan niya na napakatagal na? So, ito yung isang tanong dito kanina kung nakikinig kayo, ang tanong dito yung cross na ito. So, ano yung 2 yun? Na yung kadalasan, nagbigay sa kanya ng magandang performance. Kaya lang, medyo very humble si Sir Calvin. Sinabi kasi, kaya mataas yung performance dahil yun ang mas marami ng production. Pero performance-wise, percentage, maganda ang percentage ito. Okay. So, hashtag #TeamBigKasalto. Yan. Maraming nakaabang na manalo sana sa pulit ni Sir Calvin. Okay. Ayan. So, 2 linyada po yan, ha. Ang tanong po natin, ha. Hindi lang po isa, ha. So, huwag lang kakalimutan ng hashtag #TeamBigKasalto tapos yung kanyang tamang kasagutan. So, 2 linyada na masasabi ni Sir Calvin na matagal sa kanya and it's been there because nagpe-perform ito. At usually, ito yung ginagawa niyang cross. Okay, pwede na po yan. Marami na tayong nakakuha ng tamang sagot. Reveal na po natin ang tamang kasagutan. Yung 2 linyadang binanggit po niya na matagal na sa farm niya ay yung lazy rounded at yung yellow-legged hatch. So, ang kanyang typically cross dito, normally yung rounded, nasa hen side, tapos yung yellow-legged hatch nasa cock side. So, ganun ang typical cross ni Sir Calvin. Okay, congratulations sa mga winners, sa mga pulet na ano. So, antayin nyo lang po na i-flash namin ang mga winners, and then mga representative, kukontak kayo kung paano mapapadala. So, medyo konting pasensya lang po doon sa mga medyo hirap may padala pa. So, for now, pero assure po namin, darating at darating po yung manok nyo. Medyo may konting delay lang. Inaantay lang natin yung luwag, kumbaga, sa mga port o sa mga airport. Okay? Okay, sa ano naman, parapol naman tayo ng stag galing sa Genetic Factory. Ang third question. Okay? Yan po ang ikatlong tanong. So, medyo ano to, stag. So, ano po yung dalawang animal health product ng Salto? I think ang question nito, actually, 4 yan. So, pwede natin consider yung iba, lalo sa mga nakakilala. So, 4 yung animal health product ng Salto. Magbigay lang kayo ng 2 animal health product ng Salto. So, mananalo po ng isang stag galing sa Genetic Factory. So, huwag kalimutan, sagot lang po ng hashtag, Tindig ka Salto, tapos yung 2 animal. Kompletohin nyo po yung pangalan para makonsider natin tama. Okay? Pwede na po tayong sumagot, basta ma-flash na po yung ating katanungan. So, ano po yung 2 gamot ng Salto, ng animal health? Yun ang ibig sabihin yan. Pag sinabi mo animal health. Ano yung 2 klaseng gamot ng Salto? Yung dewormer, yung shampoo, yung injectable na para sa maganda sa digestion, at yung antibiotic at vitamins na sachet. So, pwede niyo po isagot yan. Alin man doon sa 2. Alin man doon sa 4. Then sagot ka 2. So, clarification. Okay, 2 sagot ha. Yan. Okay. So, yung 2 to, kilalang kilala. Sige, bigyan pa natin ng 10 para naman maraming pwedeng may chances na manalo. So, bigyan pa natin mga 5. Okay, kabisadong kabisado. Yan, okay, sige. So, okay, reveal na po natin yung ating kasagutan sa question number 3. Okay, so Power Guard at Power Armor. Ito talaga yung mga produkto natin na ginawa mismo ng Salto. Pero aside from dito, sa kalaman natin mga Salto, meron pa po tayo yung Vimicat tsaka yung Supradox. Yung Vimicat, napaka-good na injectable pa-maintenance at good for digestion. Napapansin namin pag binibigay namin ito, lalo sa mga kak na nakatali, ang ganda ng yung mapulang-mapula ang shank niya pati mata. Yung Supradox, napakaganda lalo na sa first 5 days ng buhay ng sisiw. Kumbaga, ang purpose nun, to cleanse away yung mga bad bacteria kung may load man siya. Tapos papasok si Salto Chick Booster na loaded na probiotics. So lahat ng unang mag-i-inhabit sa gut system ng ating sisiw ay puro mga good bacteria. So, Supradox and Vimicat aside from Power Armor and Power Guard. Okay po. Congratulations po sa mga winners. So, pakiantay lang po. May flash ang inyong mga pangalan ng mga nanalo and we will contact you. Okay? Okay? Next. Next, ano po tayo? Next slide. Ayan, okay. Paulit-ulit po tayo. Sinasabi natin yung feedback sa survey mechanics. So magpa-flash po tayo, magpo-post ng link si Salto Philippines sa comment section pa rin. So inaantay lang po namin na magbigay po kayo ng feedback na kung anong pwede pa namin gawin upang ma-improve ang ating webinar na ito. Prati ko sinasabi, kayo yung end customer namin, kayo yung tina-target namin. Kaya gusto namin makita, malaman kung paano namin i-improve para mas mabigyan kayo ng mas magandang webinar para mas matuto, manalo. Makinig, matuto, manalo. Tatanggi ko yan. Okay, ang pinagkaiba lang po ngayon, doon sa mga nanalo na before. Dati kasi, pag nanalo ka na, hindi na po pwede. Ngayon, we are considering again, basta sumagot kayo, yung mga nanalo before, pwede na po kayong manalo. Ang prices po natin ngayon ay makakatanggap ng 500 pesos worth of Shopee voucher. Valid lamang po ito sa Salto, no? Hindi pwedeng gamitin pambili ng kung ibang produkto. So itong itong voucher po ng Shopee ay magagamit lang po para sa mga produkto ng Salto. So 5 tao ang mananalo nito. So, ano na po kayo? Sagot na po kayo ng feedback survey at manano ng 500 piso ang halaga ng Shopee. So, inuulit ko po, yung mga nanalo na, pwede na po uling manalo uling yan. So, vino-void na namin yung bawal na manalo kasi nanalo ka na. So, pwede po uling manalo. So, yung mga ating mga Shopee at Lazada, mga promo, meron po tayo sa August 30. So, hindi ako nagkakamali, sa linggo ito. Meron po tayong 20% off uli sa mga Salto product at animal health natin. Yung mga package, ano. So, meron kang 20% off. So, abangan niyo po, pagpasok ng August 30, order na po kayo online. Okay? Lazada and Shopee po yan, ha? So, meron pa rin. Continuous pa rin natin. Ito, ina-announce namin in advance. So, itong itong Lazada, meron po tayong 30% up to 30% store-wide big sale event. Pero September ito, wala yung date. I think this is September 4. Kung daw nagkakamali. Pakiabag lang yan. So, up to 30% po. So, tuloy-tuloy yung ating mga promo. Yung mga medyo nagdadalawang isip kung paano umorder, napakadali lang po. Abangan nyo lang po yung order ng misis nyo. May mga nagugulat kayo, hindi umalis ang misis na dumarating yung mga produkto. Merong mga app yan sa Lazada at Shopee. Patulong lang kayo para umorder ng ating mga produkto. Okay? Next. Yan. So, yung e-consulta po, meron po tayo every Monday to Wednesday. So, itong e-consulta, ito yung pagkakataon po, makapagtanong po kayo doon sa ating mga technical person, yung mga bagay-bagay na na-encounter nyo sa manukan, yung mga gusto nyo bigyan ng linaw. So, i-comment nyo lang po sa e-consulta every Monday to Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. yan. So, comment nyo lang, sasagutin po namin yan sa abot na aming makakaya. So, minsan may konting delay, pero definitely, babalikan namin kayo para masagutan namin yung mga katanungan. Okay? Yan, okay. So, yan yung mga promo natin sa mga Shopee online. Aljer, ito lang question ko sa iyo. May ano ka bang app ng Shopee at Lazada? Sa iyo? Nakamute ka, Sir Aljer.
Yan.
May ano ka? Meron ka bang app dyan?
Meron kasi yung ano, mahilig tayo sa tumitingin doon sa mga kung ano yung mga sales doon. Sale pala.
Marami yan, marami. Ang mas nakakaalam niyan, sinasabi ko nga sa inyo, mga kasalto, yung mga misis nyo. So, maraming salamat po ulit. Ano? Mag-start po tayo ng mga tips pa, mga closing tips from ating GFS. The creator of the White Ranger. Ayan. Nanalo talaga, nagbigay ng panalo sa digmaan. So, siya pala ang isa sa mga nasabi natin umabot sa digmaan talaga na national. Kasi Dok Raro, ibang kategory. Pero si Aljer, masasabi mo, performance ang masasabi mo sa mga manok niya. Okay, Sir Aljer?
Hindi naman, Dok. Ano lang, na medyo siniswerte lang talaga. Although, bihira lang talagang makapasok doon sa national eh. Ini-aim pa rin natin, no? Kung ano yung tip ni Sir Calvin kanina, kailangan sa pagpili ng mga ilalaban natin sa stag, kailangan buo. Kumbaga, sabi niya yung isang word na fire, fire ba yun? Ano ba yun?
Yan?
Ano ba yung sinasabi niya kanina? Kailangan talagang mag-fire, always fire. First.
Yung hit first. Oo, yung gano'n.
Hit first,
kailangan
yeah.
makauna. Siyang nauna. Yun ang pinaka-main.
So, yung mga tips ko lang sa mga kasalto natin na naglalaban ng stag. Mostly kasi ako sa mga manok, kunti lang kasi pinaproduce natin every year eh. Mostly sa trabaho natin, kailangan lumalaban din tayo paminsan-minsan. Kailangan pipili kayo ng mga stag. Yung talagang, kumbaga buo na ba yung loob? Kasi, alam mo, Dok Arv, mostly sa nilalaban ko, kunting medyo kulang ng edad. Alam mo kung bakit? Nilalaban ko sila 8 months old. Mostly 8 months old. Mostly. Kaya nga yung handler natin dito, Sabi niya, ano ka ba na puro tukulan ng edad? So, huwag na pagtyagaan mo lang kasi tingnan mo naman, lalaban din yan. Kaya nga sabi ko sa iyo, Dok Arvin, medyo siniswerte lang. Kasi mostly ako
Kasi
mostly
sa swerte. Yung swerte, hindi basta-basta nakukuha yan eh.
sa linyada din kasi, sabi nila. Yes. Pag pipili ka, yung gusto mo talaga. Yung saan ka nag-i-enjoy.
Iyan ang tip ni Sir Calvin din kanina. So, breed yung gusto mong manok. Diba? Breed,
Yes.
wag mong i-breed yung manok na gusto ng iba. Kasi ikaw yung, bandang una, ikaw yung nagbe-breed, ikaw yung masaya. Ha? Kahit magtatagal ka sa industriya. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Sir. Okay, let's listen naman for the tips of our Alas ng Salto, Calvin Randall. Sir Calvin, what are the tips you can still give our aficionados, those who dream is to be like you?
Well, Doc, I hope that we're all individuals. I hope nobody has the curse that I have. They told me I'm a strange guy. My partner told me I'm a strange guy. She said, when you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about what you're going to breed next. She said, by the time you go to bed at night, you still haven't forgot it. You're trying to figure out how you're going to train them to fight. She said, why don't you take a break during the day? I said, honey, that's all I want to think about is game foul. That's good for me. But it is just a little joke, Doc. But the truth of the matter is, Doc, there is a couple of tips that I would like to offer people.
Okay.
Through my time with working with roosters, with game fowl, playing with them, if you will, I've enjoyed the experience. It's been awesome. Hopefully, I still have quite a few more years to go once we get this pandemic past us, because sooner or later, I'm still planning to win the NGBA 10 Stag Derby. They don't know it yet, but I got a half a point.
It's one of your targets.
I got a half a point away a few years ago, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it here soon. Anyway, one of the things that a couple of things I think that helped me been real successful. If I have any criticisms about Filipinos, and I don't mean this in a bad way, is that you're very proud people, very proud, and that's a good thing. But at times in our sport, it can be a bad thing. And how do I mean that? If you're having a little trouble with some area of the sport, some aspect of the game, it's okay to ask someone for help. You know what I'm saying? It's all right to say to someone, hey, what do you think I should do? Don't be. There's nothing wrong with to ask questions. I always say that everyone has something to teach us, even if it's wrong, so that you never do that again. You know what I mean, Doc?
Yes.
One of the, I know it's just, I don't want to push Salto here, but the thing is, if I hadn't opened up and let Salto come to my farm and help me and Aljar was there at the original one of the original time, him and Mr. Ting came over to my farm together. If they hadn't came that day and helped me out, then it's for sure I wouldn't be here today. I don't even know if I'd still be in the Philippines today, because I would have went home and because I'd have been, I don't know, disgusted or whatever. But they helped me figure out my problems. Again, get back to, don't be afraid to ask people for help if you're having problems with something. That's the first. Second tip, always try to do the best you can do. And you might say, well, never take shortcuts. Never, there's no such thing as a day off. Roosters are 24 hours a day a deal. Even if it's just a simple hack fight. they deserve our utmost attention. They're willing to give their lives for us. We should give them everything we got as well to prepare them to do that. If anyone has any questions, please. I've seen there's already some questions on Facebook. I've got some time here in the next few days with the lockdown. I'm going to personally reply to each and every one of those questions. And it's going to be my pleasure. Thank you. So again, it's just Calvin Randall at Facebook, and just send me a question, send it on my messenger, and I'm going to send you a reply.
Okay.
Doc, I did have one last question. What's that, Doc?
Do you want me to show you your quote already?
Well, why don't you show that question first, and then you can. Do you have that question?
Okay.
Yeah.
What state? Oh, sorry.
I got to.
What state is Alas Salto Calvin from? So you're giving another topic ulit,
yeah.
So
this one's all on me. I just want to see if anybody listened to where I came from. That it's important to me that I'm from this state. So
okay.
I got extra topic ulit.
Mga kasalto, doon sa ating uling so ipa-flash itong question, pakisagutan lang po. Huwag niyo makalimutan na lagyan ng hashtag Tindig Kasalto. So i-announce si Sir Calvin mamaya yung tamang kasagutan. So, may pagkakataon pa kayong manalo ng isang topic ulit from Calvin Randall. Okay, pag nalabas na sa comment section, pakisagot lang po.
Doc, whoever sends you the right answer first, you just send me all the details and their phone number, and I'll handle everything from there.
Yan. Okay.
Thanks,
so sagot pa pagkakataon na third pulet from Sir Calvin Randall for today.
Yeah, this is direct to me.
This is Sir Calvin. And he's giving you the special chicken he has, the toppy one. Okay. More answers? Yeah. So hashtag Tindig Kasalto, saan galing na state si Sir Calvin Randall? Alam niyo, napakadali na sagot to kasi yung sagot nito, Tagalog natin to sa manok Yan, okay. Sana ko na. Okay, parang same mechanics as before. So we'll choose mga around a certain number of mga sumagot ng tama, and then i-raffle namin para sa isang doon mananalo. So hindi na. Okay, I think we have a lot of answers already na correct. So, Sir Calvin, could you tell them the right answer for this question?
I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
From the Lone Star State.
There's a lot of viewers really listening, so they answered the correct answer. They gave the correct answer. Okay, so additional yan. So that is not a planned raffle for today.
No, you just pick one and pick the one to send it to you first, and send it to me. Let me know, and I'll take care of it. I'll make sure.
Sir Calvin for this. Okay, so
Doc, what's that closing slide for me?
We can show the quote na for you. Yan, okay.
Can you read it for me, Doc, in
Okay.
Tagalog?
Oh, it's in English, and then I think it's in Ilonggo.
Oh, that's Ilonggo. Okay, Aljar, help me out, buddy.
No, this is a question, the quote, your ending quote.
Yeah. Is it in
It's
Ilonggo?
in Cebuano, buddy. I think it's in Cebuano.
What of you guys could sit. All right, let me tell you what it says in English. It says, if I can do it, so can you. You know, when I talk to younger guys, they see me here, a foreigner fighting in the foreign land, and you're fighting in the top level. Well, guys, I didn't start there. And what I mean by that is, if I can travel 8,000 miles and start fighting here and work my way up, so can each and every one of you. It's just the dedication you have, and never quit on yourself. Sure, we're all going to have our bad times, but never quit on yourself and always keep trying. Hard work will pay off in the end. I believe that there's no such thing as luck. It's just hard luck, or hard work.
Is this one? mahimupod nimo. So tama ba ang pagkaka-pronounce ko, Aljer? So it's just the same meaning. Tama ba?
Yeah.
If I can do it, so can you.
Yeah, so it's another language. So, okay. Thank you, Sir Calvin, for the mga info and additional mga tips talaga. So, mga kasalto, again, nagtatapos po yung ating another Alas ng Salto webinar na naging isang usapan ng bloodline, usapang breeding, usapang conditioning sa ating Alas ng Salto si Sir Calvin Randall. So, medyo, ang dating yan, medyo more on the English side. Hopefully, buti na lang, hindi kami dumugong ilong namin ni Sir Aljer. Naitawid naman namin. So, thank you, Sir Calvin Randall, for sharing your tips and your methods for our viewers. That's one thing we are very grateful for you. You gave us the time and the tips and the method and technology so we can do better on Game Foul. Salamat din mga kasali ko sa mga hindi lang nandito sa Pilipinas at sa mga ibang bansa na nagbigay oras, siyempre, para manood at makinig at matuto sa ating Alas ng Salto webinar. So meron pa rin tayong dire-diretso pa rin ating Alas ng Salto webinar. Meron pa rin tayong webinar, Alas ng Salto webinar next Saturday. May iba na naman tayong guest. And every Thursday po, meron din po rin tayong usapang pagmamanok. So it's more parang mga practices regarding so another learning experience. A learning webinar, Alas. Sabi nga ni Sir Calvin Randall, wag tayong mahihiyang magtanong. Kasi pag nagtatanong tayo, natututo tayo. Pag meron tayong nakikitang pagkakamali at hindi tayo nagtanong, lalaki lang yung pagkakamali, tayo babalik din sa atin. So maraming salamat po mga kasalto. Sa kita-kita po ulit tayo sa susunod na webinar. Okay?